So it was just 6 defeats in 28 for Hull City last season after Liam Rosenior took charge. I think that's solid foundations by anybody's notebook. And now the Tigers are hoping to use those foundations to kick on into promotion contention. Well, are they going to strengthen their squad enough under Ajan Ilikali to challenge for the playoffs this season? And have they got what's required in terms of the squad to mount a real push? Well, to discuss all these things and more, I'm delighted to be joined by Ant Northgraves from the excellent Hull and Back podcast. Ant, great to see you. It's been a while since we've done one of these.
It has, yeah. It was the last EFL debate of last season, wasn't it? So, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, really looking forward to getting into this with a bit of a deep dive on Hull City. First of all, before we get into it, we're covering all 72 clubs across the EFL between mid-June and mid-July. We're also available on YouTube and Spotify, so if you're watching this on either of those platforms, do give us a subscribe because that would help us out a lot, and check out the other videos once you're done with this one. Ant, how do you reflect on the impact Liam Rosenior has made on Humberside?
Amazing. I think it's we maybe look at it with a bit of favouritism because it's Rosenior and he's already got a connection with the area and the club and things like that. But you've got to judge into the fact that he's brand new to management. So like his only experience of management beforehand was a brief stint at Derby. But he's come to a club that was in absolute tatters. Under Arveladze, we were an absolute mess. We went creating goals, we were scoring goals, and we were leaking goals for fun. We were conceding 2 or 3 a game. We had easily the worst defensive record in the entire division. And, you're asking, a very, very new manager to come in and fix that. A very big squad, a lot of players from, that have played abroad in different leagues. He had a big job in his hands. And you know what? If there wasn't as many injuries as we had, it was a season of what if for us. But we did get the defence sorted out. We were keeping clean sheets for fun. Sean McLaughlin came back into the team after fans were calling for him to be introduced under Shota for ages, was missed somehow, not involved. But he's back in and he's playing well. And yeah, we just look, every single player looks like they understand what they're doing, which is the important thing. And you've got to have that identity if you're going to become successful as a club. And we've definitely got that at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly see how it's really exciting from a whole perspective that you've got those sort of first foundations in place where everyone knows their roles and responsibilities inside out. I think that's really important. What's required then, Ant, for Hull City to push on from a very solid season last season to can we challenge for the playoffs this year?
More goals. Our only Achilles heel under Rosenior towards the end of last season was the fact that we weren't scoring enough. There were 1 or 2 exceptions, like Cardiff away, and then we scored 4 at Sunderland, games like that. But on a consistent basis, we were struggling to score more than 1 in a game. And it's okay when you're keeping clean sheets, only conceding 1. You're going to come out of a game with, at best a draw. But to turn those draws into wins, because we did draw a lot of games, we needed to have that 1 extra goal, that 1 player on the pitch that was capable of winning the game for us. And I think he was unlucky, like I say, with injuries. A lot of our key players were missing that probably could have made a difference. Aaron Connolly came in on loan and looked great, and then he got injured. And Tete came back from a long-term injury, got suspended, came back and got injured again. So it was just one of those seasons where nothing really worked for us. I think we played the last month and a bit without even a recognised striker on the pitch. We was playing Ozan Tufan as a false 9 because we had no forwards left. So I do think that the recruitment this season will probably be focused more on players who are going to create / score goals and what we're looking at getting so far and who we have brought in. It's looking like we're going down that route. So hopefully that, like you said, those foundations from last season are still there, but we can add 1 or 2 more goals into games and be a bit of a I would say probably an under the radar side for the top, maybe, 8, top 10 maybe this season, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned Benjamin Tete there. Do you think he could be the one that breaks out and has a big season this year?
I do, because the thing is with Tete is I really like his style of play. He's a big player, I didn't know much about him when he came. I knew he was, he's a Ghanaian international, and he has got experience at a high level of football. And if you're an international football player, you've got to have something about you, haven't you?
Sure.
So, he came in and he was adopted more as a wide target man under Shota. He did that role very well. His hold-up play is very good. His link-up play is very good. And
he's got a lovely touch on him. He's got a lovely touch on him as well, hasn't he?
No, yeah, he has. For a big guy, he has got a good touch on him. He has got a good burst of pace. I don't think he can keep it on a consistent run, but he can get off good. But he had a good link up with Oscar at the beginning of the season, and then obviously, like I say, he got injured, and then when he came back into the side, we tried playing him more as Oscar's substitute replacement in the game through the middle, and he did that role as well. So he's looking like the kind of player who can play anywhere amongst the front three. When he got his run at games and he scored that really good goal against West Brom, and he looked good against Sheffield United before he got sent off. He's got that something about him that you think maybe if he gets a full season, a good run, then he could easily be at least a double figure goals this season for us. So add that to the fact that Oscar may or may not be here. We don't know about his transfer future at the minute, but we'll hopefully Tete is going to be one who pops up within a few extra.
Yeah, absolutely. Pardon you, by the way.
Oh, it's because I'm having to do it on the phone and I'm getting loads of messages in my group chats. They're not stopping.
I've got a childish sense of humour. No, it's interesting though, because we've talked about Hull needing one or two attacking players that can be a bit of a game changer, but we've mentioned there a couple of players who've shown some potential. Oscar Estupiñán for parts of last season was on fire. Benjamin Tete we've spoken about as having some potential. Saeed Manish, you've spoken about as having shown flashes of Hull. If you can turn those flashes into something bigger, who knows? Is there the possibility that part of the solution to Hull's attacking troubles can come from in-house solutions?
Yeah, I mean, this all adds into the fact that we always look at last season as a what if, because Saeed Manesh started last season really well, and it was like no coincidence that our form fell off a cliff when he got injured.
Sure.
And it's the thing is with Saeed Manesh is he does everything right up until the last second. His end product is just missing at the minute, and he beats his man really well. He's got really good. He's really good on the ball. He's got a lot of pace, and then he either shoots when he should pass or pass when he should shoot, kind of thing. And if he can get that end product sorted, there is definitely a player there. Ryan Longman, fantastic on loan last season since we signed him permanently. I don't know where that Ryan Longman went, but he seems content. He just doesn't seem to be hitting the heights that we thought he would do. Harry Vaughan, very exciting young player that we brought in. He's one of those
this summer.
Yes, signed a new deal, which is very good, which is something that as a club we didn't do very well for a long time. We were constantly waiting until the very last second to sign players onto deals because our previous owners went they didn't want to give players more money to stay, so they would always wait and we'd either lose them on a free.
Such a false economy, isn't it?
So new owner, he's got a lot of the key players tied down to contracts, which has probably been our best bit of business this transfer window, considering we've only brought in one player. But we've tied players down like McLaughlin and Slater and like Sir Harry Vaughan. So we're securing our long-term future, which is a good thing. But yeah, Vaughan's come in and looked like he's just hit the floor running. He came in from I think it was Oldham, and their fans were saying good things about him, but when you come up from that level, it's always going to be a bit of a step up. But he honestly as soon as he was in the starting 11, he looked like he'd been a championship player for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, honestly, there is a lot of hype about Harry Vaughan. All of us are very excited about his future. I don't think Rosenior is going to gamble putting an 18-year-old in the starting lineup for a full season. I think it's a bit too soon to rely on that. But he'll definitely have a part to play, I would imagine, coming in off the bench, playing in cup games, things like that. So,
if I can just touch on that, Ant, it's really interesting you say that, because one of Vaughan's main strengths at Oldham was the fact that he was so aggressive. He's a super energetic. I've always thought that he's someone who would stand out in a pressing side, perhaps. And I just wonder, like, if you need someone off the bench just to liven things up a little bit, we could get. Are we talking about a double-figured number of substitute appearances potentially for Harry Vaughan next season?
I would imagine so. I think all of us would like to see him have a part to play regularly in amongst the first team, whether that be, like we say, coming on off the bench or having the odd start every now and again through rotation, because you can have a lot of games in a week, in a month, can't you, in the Championship? So,
sure.
But yeah, he was one of our, especially for the few games he played consistently from. Sorry about that. Someone's just turned up. From when he came into the side to the end of the season, he was fantastic, and I think his ceiling is so high, and like we said, I just don't think they're going to gamble putting him in starting position regularly, but he'll definitely have a part to play. He's very excited.
Sure. And what about Regan Slater, Ant? Because he was another one who kind of took a few people by surprise last season.
Yeah, I always said, I think I started the season saying he was one of the most underrated midfielders in the league, and I think the league's now starting to realise that he's a very good player. He got our fans and players player of the season. You know, he was just Mr. Consistent, 7 out of 10 every week. He would be in midfield. He comes back, he defends, he's box to box, he scores goals, creates goals. Absolutely fantastic player. Yeah, so I think Slater alongside Seri is going to have a very big future.
That's a really exciting midfield duo, isn't it, Ant? Because you've got the consistent work rate of Regan Slater, and then you've got the flair of Seri, who's just such a good. He just seems to be able to dictate the tempo so well, doesn't he, Seri? He's just got this sort of innate ability with football where it just feels like everything just feels so natural. It's lovely to watch.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely key to the way that Rosenior wants to play, because he wants to play this possession-based, slick, play out from the back system. And Seri likes to drop deep, be that anchor, and his range of passing is just amazing. I think he's one of the most technically gifted players I've ever seen in a City shirt. I think the fact that we managed to sign him at this level of I mean, especially after we finished 19th the season before, it just shows the law that the owner's got. That you can bring players like that to the club. And I think if you're wanting to aspire to be a team that's challenging to get to the Premier League, players like Seri have to be vital to that. And I think he started the season, he was in and out of form, but they all were under Arveladze, whereas now under Rosenior it's very organised and he knows what his role is, and he's very good at what he does. His only criticism is he sometimes gets caught on the ball, but he can sometimes be a bit lackadaisical in possession, and if a team presses him, they can steal the ball off him, and we can concede from that. But that's sort of an occupational hazard if you want, playing that system, because whilst you give Seri that freedom to do what he does, he can also go forward and create, however many goals, or play that incisive pass out wide that gets you on the front foot to score a goal. So it kind of evens itself out in the future. Hopefully it contributes to more goals scored than it does goals conceded.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. Talk to me about how the defence is looking at the moment, Ad, because you mentioned earlier the importance that Sean McLaughlin has.
Sean McLaughlin, the thing is, it's very funny because we've got Jacob Greaves, who's absolutely fantastic. And then you've got Alfie Jones, who, is sort of a midfielder turned into a defender kind of thing. And he has been, alongside McLaughlin, they've just formed this solid partnership that you can't see Greaves getting in. He played left back last season because we didn't have a natural left back, barring Callum Elder. But he played that role well, but I don't think long term Greaves will want to be playing left back. So you've got a question there on Rosenior. Is Greaves going to want to stay here if he's going to not be guaranteed game time? Is he going to want to stay here if he's told he's going to predominantly play left back? So the Jacob Greaves transfer story is going to be an interesting one. But the defence, alongside Cyrus Christie, Louis Coyle signed a new contract as well, and he's always dependable. Christie excites me. I think if he was fit all season, he'd have been player of the season.
That goal against Middlesbrough, by the way, back in November, I think it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he is in terms of a right back, he is the perfect mould. Like, I can't believe that no other Championship club came in for him when we did. Or they might have done. I've just not seen it. But he's absolutely fantastic. So you partner Christie alongside McLaughlin and Jones's partnership, who led to the amount of clean sheets we had. And then we're looking at bringing in Ruben Vinagre as a left back. So he's one that's quite fast and can offer the same kind of thing Christie does on that side. So if you've got a two-pronged attack in terms of your full-backs, then it's looking good.
Yeah, Vinagre though is a very I think Yeah, very attack-minded, and also from memory of watching him at Wolves, I don't know whether he's bulked up since they've been in the Premier League, and I've not watched him quite as often, but whether he's going to be physical enough, that's probably the one question. But and he's obviously played as a wing back for Wolves, and how we were just playing in back four. I mean, whether there's an outside chance Rosenior goes to a back three to incorporate Jacob Greaves and moves Alfred Jones onto the right.
Yeah, I don't know. You see, I think that's been mentioned, but I don't think Rosenior sees the five because we've not tried it in the friendlies as of yet. We've got another friendly today, so we'll see what he does in that sense. But I do think he sees the 4-3-3 that we've been using as the way he wants to go. I don't think he wants to lose either a midfielder or a winger in that sense. I think he wants to try and score as many goals as he can.
That makes sense. Do you think it's going to be a 4-3-3 that converts into a 4-2-3-1 with a more attack-minded player ahead of Slater and Terry?
I think the good thing about Rosenior and the system that he uses is that we've kind of got a system when we're on the ball and a system off. So when we lose possession, it sort of drops into the wingers come back and it almost becomes like a 4-5-1. So it becomes compact. It limits the space and tries to get it to a point where the opposition struggles to get into our box or get any shots away, which is probably why we ended up with the defensive record we did, because every player seems to know where he's meant to be, who he's meant to be marking, the space they're meant to be cutting out, and they were throwing the bodies on the line. But when we're attacking, we like to keep Seri sits deep, and the other Slater and either Tufan or Adama Traore, it was fantastic, by the way. It'd be a bit of a wild card for us this season.
Yeah, you've mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, he is special. I think he's got Champions League experience. He was playing for Monaco at one point, cost him 15 million euros. He shouldn't be in the Championship, and I think he was injured for a long part of last season, came in and then just looked a class above. So I think if we can keep him fully fit all season, he'll be one to keep an eye on. But hopefully, players like that supplying, the likes of Oscar, who scored 13 goals, and I don't even think we saw the best of Oscar last season. Because Oscar's a very frustrating one because his performances actually weren't that great, but he still scored 13 goals. Like, his hold-up play wasn't brilliant, his link-up play wasn't great. He just likes to be in the right place at the right time. But
is that enough as a lone striker, though, Ant? If you're playing 4-3-3 and you've only got one out and out centre forward, do you want more from your centre forward than that?
You do, I think, and that's the problem. I think that's where a few people criticise Oscar, is he can't really do that lone striker role. However, in saying that, our recent friendly against Galatasaray, he came on in the second half and looked absolutely fantastic. As in, that was probably the best 45 minutes of football we've seen from Oscar in Hull City Shed. He was brilliant. Like, he transformed the game and scored the winner. He could have had 2 or 3 assists. His link-up play was brilliant. So hopefully he's come back a new animal and worked on some of his weaknesses. And if he stays, because I don't know if he's going or not, but if he stays, he could be that striker that's nearing the 20 goal mark, because like I say, he scored 13 and he didn't actually play that well.
That's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because he scored 13. I don't even think he played. I want to say something like he started 29 games last season or something around that mark.
He got suspended in November when Rosenior first came in, because he got sent off at Millwall away in his first game. So I think he had 3 or 4 games off for that. And then he had a couple of niggling injuries, and then he had a injury that put him out for the rest of the season towards the end, which is why we were playing with no strikers. So yeah, he did miss a large part of the season. You'd look back at his goals scored though, and the majority, like, he scored 13, but I think about 5 of them were in 3 games at the beginning of the season, kind of thing. Yeah. So he scored multiple goals
once, didn't he?
He got a hat trick and 2 braces in like the first month. I think he got player of the month that month. But if he can, he seems like he's a striker who scores in patches, like rather than over the season, he goes on a run and then goes on a run without and then goes on a run again, kind of thing. So,
but that shows the potential's there when he's confident, because if you're looking at someone who can score 13 goals in around 30 games, I'm not 100% sure on the exact numbers, but I think it's around that, and the team wasn't particularly creative at that point because it didn't have oodles of creativity in it, and he's since built on his all-round game, and you've now got Liam Rosenior in charge for a full season. I think it's quite realistic to say Oscar or Stupinan, if he can play 40 games rather than 30 odd, could he maybe push for the for the 20 mark?
I think he can. I definitely think there's a 20 goal a season striker in Oscar. Like I say, he's just got some parts of his game I think that he needs to make better, which I know it's only one game and it's pre-season, but Galatasaray aren't no pushovers.
Sure.
They won the Turkish league last season. We were 3-0 down at one point.
I know, yeah, that's really, that almost feels too dramatic for a pre-season game. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever seen a team come back from 3-0 down in a friendly. That's just
No, well, I paid the £5 to watch the game, and after the 35th minute when we were 3-0 down, I was regretting paying the £5 for the game. And then we got one back through Tete just before half time, and then we scored 3 in 4 minutes towards the end of the second half and won the game. It was mad for a friendly. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
But no, like I say, he came on and he looked fantastic against Galatasaray. So I'm hoping that's the kind of form that he's going to carry into the season. Hopefully we see him play tonight and sort of mirror that performance. And because I think Rosenior is the kind of manager who does identify weaknesses in players and then tries to work on them with them. You just listen to him talk and he understands. He's got a clear vision. This is what I think everyone loves about him. He knows where he needs to be, where these players need to go, what needs to do and what needs to happen. And I just think this full pre-season under Rosenior, I think these players are going to come back an entire new mindset. It'll almost be like a new team. So any new addition that comes in is going to be a player that he's really wanted and will actually add something to the side, which is exciting.
Yeah, I always feel like whenever Liam Rosenior speaks, he just has this kind of calming influence where you feel like you command respect, I think, and he's very personable as well. You've seen videos of him sort of when fans were queuing up to buy their season tickets, he was going around and eating people, which I think was a lovely touch. So he's definitely a manager that instinctively, although he's not necessarily got a record where you can say, yeah, I'm trusting that man in the same way that other managers in the league have. I still instinctively feel like I want to trust him because of the way he speaks and the way he comes across.
Yeah, I think he's going to be key to bringing in the caliber of player that we want to. Because I do think that because you don't realise as fans like all the work and factors that go into a transfer. So you've got to think about the player's got to relocate. They've got a family they've got to bring with them. Do they like the area? Do they like the schools and things like that? But then they've also got to buy into the football club. So does he meet with the manager? Does he understand the vision? Does he know his role he's going to play? When I think about a player meeting Liam Rosenior, I'm wondering how he can turn around and say no to him. Like, you listen to his interview, I'd run through a wall for him. Do you know what I mean? He's so motivational. You can tell he knows what he's on about, and he knows exactly where this club wants to go. And I saw a tweet one of the City fans put out earlier and saying, I don't think I've ever wanted a City manager to succeed as much as Liam Rosenior. And he has that effect because I just think all the players respect and adore him. All the fans respect and adore him. The job he's done, given the circumstances of the squad last season and what he inherited, sort of demands respect. And I think this season, given it's going to be his first full season, let's see what players we bring in and buy into his ethos. And then we're just so excited for this season. We're really far more than last summer, even though we went a bit overboard last summer, I think. But this summer, I think it's because we know we're in safer hands. The future seems a lot more optimistic and confident in that sense. You're more likely to put your eggs in Rosenior's basket.
Yeah, absolutely. Really exciting stuff. How close do you think this squad is to the one that's going to open the season then, Ant?
Oh, I don't know. I think he said towards the end of last season he wanted to bring in 5 or 6 players, and as of now we've only brought in one in Liam Delap, which if you're going off statistics, you're thinking probably not a great addition, but you're thinking potential wise, age. Sometimes it just takes the correct manager, the correct team system to bring the best out of players. And Pep Guardiola's come out and said he's one of the best finishers he's seen and that he's an absolute animal. So you don't get praise from someone like Pep Guardiola if you're not a good player. I know he went to Stoke and Preston last season. It didn't really work out. But like we say, perhaps that system or their style of football did not suit him, whereas here it might do. So hopefully it works for him here. Like we say, we're very close to bringing in Vinagre. But other than that, it's very quiet, which is a bit different for us since the takeover, because usually we know about every single player that's coming in about 4 weeks in advance and you're just constantly waiting for the announcement. But this season, it's so hard to actually find us linked with anybody. It's very quiet, very cards close to the chest, which I think is a good thing, because then obviously you don't start getting involved in bidding wars. We were outpriced for the pursuit of Cal Darlow, unfortunately. So I think we're turning to players like Mark Travers or Tom Heaton, I think, has been mentioned as well. So another goalkeeper I think he's going to try and bring in. But other than that, I can't honestly tell you any other names we're linked with.
Do you fancy, would you be keen on an experienced goalkeeper like Heaton, or would you look at someone like in the loan market, like Carl Rushworth, for example, who's just done really well for the last 2 seasons in the lower leagues and probably is ready for a championship loan?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we've got a steady goalkeeper in Matt Ingram. Now, I'm the kind of fan that, you see, Matt Ingram gets a lot of unnecessary hate from our fans. Yes, his distribution is not too great, which obviously in terms of the system Rosenior wants to play perhaps doesn't suit it. But in terms of shot stopping, he was great last season. Like, as a goalkeeper, he's really good. I'd be more than happy to have him as the number one. Now, the fact that we're already in for goalkeepers suggests that Rosenior sees it otherwise. So to me,
unless Heaton comes as a number 2 or something.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is Heaton's a very good goalkeeper. I don't know about his distribution either. I don't know if that would make sense, because if you want somebody who's quite nimble and agile on the ball, I'm not sure. What is he, 38, 39 year old Tom Heaton would probably fit that bill. So it's a strange one. Travers, I think, would be a good signing. I do like that. I think we're in competition with Millwall for his signing on loan. So that'll be one to keep out for. But yeah, like you say, I'm more than happy to poach from the lower leagues to players that seem to be playing above their level at that level. Because like you say, if they come in and it takes some time to settle, you've got Ingram there as a reliable number one anyway. So it's less of a risk because you've got a ready and able keeper there anyway. So it's not like you put in all of your trust in that one goalkeeper to come in and instantly change it, because you've already got somebody there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully the right goalkeeper can be brought in. In terms of the other positions, were we looking at possibly a left back? You've obviously brought in a striker in Liam Delap. Where else do you think you're going to need to strengthen?
I think they'll be looking at bringing in another centre half. I think Tobias Figueiredo looks like he's on his way out, which was a transfer that never worked out. Unfortunately, for the moment, I mean, that away game at Swansea is probably just the summary of his time here at the club, unfortunately. But it looks like he's about to seal his move away. Andy Smith's come in and impressed Rosenior, and he's a player I think a lot of the fans want to come in and have some sort of impact.
Had a couple of good loans at Grimsby as well.
Yeah, Grimsby fans absolutely love him. I think he's another local lad, so it's one of them where. Problem is, it's age again. Is Rosenior going to want to have somebody as the backup, as somebody that's relatively still quite young and not got that any championship experience? I think he'll probably look for another centre half as backup, because I think again it depends what happens with Jacob Greaves as well. I mean, I think that if the club get a decent offer for Jacob Greaves, he'll go, but I wouldn't want him to go, and I don't think the fans would. But you can also understand it if if a Premier League club comes in with a few million, I think he'll be gone. But
I mean, is there a world though, Ant, in which Jacob Greaves does actually force his way back into the team, because we know how good a defender he is, and
he's definitely capable.
Yeah,
he's definitely capable. It's not a bad issue to have. It's too many good defenders. So the thing is with McLaughlin, you're always going to have suspensions and injuries and things like that. So you're always going to want a player that is going to step in and be just as good. And that defense, they're all tight knit. That if McLaughlin steps out and Greaves comes in, Greaves and Jones play just as well together. So I do think he can force himself into the side. I think Rosenior is reluctant to play 2 left footers in the back 4, so I don't think Maka and Greaves will partner each other. It'll be one or the other is the problem. But McLaughlin was just an absolute Rolls Royce since coming in the side, and I do think that he's going to be the starter alongside Jones at the beginning. But like you say, there is absolutely every chance that Jacob Greaves can force his way into the side if Maka has a dip in form. And then you've got the similar question at Christmas: can McLaughlin force himself back into the side, or will he be going in January? So it's a good dilemma to have, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost feel like from what you've described there, would you necessarily, if Greaves does stay, do you necessarily need another centre half, because you've got Andy Smith coming through as well, and you've obviously got McLaughlin and and Alfie Jones, of course. But then is Greaves going to continue to start at left back? Well, I think that's the other big question. So lots of dilemmas to ponder. How's the front three going to shape up? Do you think Delap is going to start as the main striker on the opening day, or do you think Oscar's going to get the nod?
I don't know. See, the front three that finished last season, we had Ozan playing the false nine, which he actually did really well. Then we had Harry Vaughan on the left and Said Manesh on the right, and that was good. We didn't score enough goals in it. Obviously, there's a little bit of an experience in there. Like we say, players like Ali is just not quite at the finished article.
Sure.
Tete, I think probably is in plans to start in some way, shape or form. Whether he comes in off the left and Oscar through the middle, I'm not sure. I think he played Delap off the right against Galatasaray, so maybe he's going to trial that, where he has Oscar and Delap in the same team. If you have Oscar, Delap and Tete as a front three, I think there's a lot of potential for goals in that. There is strong rumours that Aaron Connolly's coming back, which I didn't think was going to happen. I think he's in his last year of contract at Brighton. I'm not sure.
I think he's got a lot of potential, Connolly.
It's just if he stays fit. Is the problem. He came in, looked very good, got injured, and we didn't see him again for the rest of the season. I thought for that reason, Rosenior wouldn't go back in for him because he said he wanted reliable, robust players that are going to play all season. But if he comes back, I'm very happy about that, especially if we can get him for free in summer. If it's just loan and then bring him on permanently in the summer on a free, I think that's a very good coup. But he came in off the left last season. That was his role. He played off the left alongside Oscar, so maybe that's the plans for him. But again, this is a problem we didn't have last season. We didn't have options up front. So the fact that we've now got options, I'm going to guess that throughout the friendlies, we're going to see a variation of all of them. Obviously, Connolly's got to come in first, but Vaughan, Aliar, even Doug against Cynic as well. The owner's just come out and said he hopes he's got a part to play this season. We sent him back out on loan because I don't think Rosenior really fancied him, but he's probably going to try him out this season. So he's another one that can come in off the left, and he's very direct and tricky. So we've got an abundance of attacking options all of a sudden, and I think Rosenior is probably licking his lips at the potential combinations he can make and rotations he can do. So I would guess that
if Connolly comes in, then do you think that's the last attacking addition you'll see, or do you think there'll be one more after that?
It's hard to say because it also depends on any outgoings. So I think if Connolly comes in and nobody else leaves, then probably.
Yeah.
Because if they've got plans on reintroducing Cynic to the side, then that again that's another spot that unless you're going to get rid of somebody, that you've got too many, aren't you? Your full bench is going to be attackers. So
sure.
There is a few strong rumours that Oscar may be going. So they're perhaps planning around that. I'd be disappointed, but if you can get a few million for him when you signed him for free, I can see why the club would do it. But I would like we say, if you bring Connolly in, I'd be happy with all of them as attacking options. You've got Cynic, Vaughan, Connolly, Tete, Oscar, Aliar, Liam Delap. That is that's a very nice library of attackers to be able to pick from. So yeah, it's exciting the potential three that we could see.
Talking of potential, Ant, any youngsters coming through the ranks that we should be keeping an eye on?
Vaughan would be the obvious one for us.
Vaughan,
He's like I said, he came in and really looked like he took to Championship football like a duck to water. I'm hoping that he has a big part to play this season. He's because I was under the impression he was a centre midfielder, but we played him off the left, and he just seems he's very tricky. He's very good on the ball. He's fast. He's confident. I think is the most important thing. His first thought is, I'm going to run at this defender, and it's a nightmare. I can say from playing not professional football, but five-a-side and things like that. If you've got a player that's running at you and is relentless, and you're on the back pedals, it's horrible to defend against.
No, I can relate to that. I'm like a no-nonsense centre half, but as soon as you get this strong, quick lad that's running at you, I'm like, shit.
Yeah, as soon as you're running back towards your own goal, you've got a problem, and that's what you want defenders to do. So, Harry Vaughan definitely is the one to keep an eye out for us this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully he can have a big season. I feel like we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to get a kind of bite-sized answer from you, Ant, because when I make my I've got to make my 1 to 24 predictions in a few weeks. So,
Yeah.
what would be the reason for me to be hugely optimistic about Hull City and say, yeah, they're going to finish in the top 6 this season?
The manager. I just all I would say to you is like go onto YouTube and just like listen to every interview he's had since joining the club, and you'd put us second. He's just so inspirational. Like the thing is like you want to know that your club's going a certain direction, and Rosenior knows where we need to go. He knows the style of play he wants to bring in, and like we say, he's now got a full pre-season where he can work on the players' fitness, so he can press higher and do what he wants us to do. Fully fit squad to pick from, which is something we've not been able to say in over 12 months. Having him as a manager just makes me think that we're only going in one direction, and I would be very surprised if we finish anywhere lower than 10th. So good luck where you're putting us.
Cheers. And what would be the reason to be a little bit cautious about Hull City for next season? What's the area where you're kind of a little bit concerned?
Yeah, well, we've not really added to the squad yet. Obviously, we've only made the one signing, and then if we've got the same players as last season, they were all apparently made out of matchsticks. So if they've all got the same, injury records, and we lose 3 or 4 key players, then we might struggle to score goals like we did last season. And if you miss a couple of the defenders, like if Jones and Maka come out, you might lose that bit of stability and consistency that we saw. So I just think that our paperweight players might be a bit of a problem, our injury record. So that would probably be the biggest worry for us going in, is that we've only really added one player to what was a very injury ravaged squad last season. So hopefully they're all a bit more steady this season on the legs.
Yeah, hopefully the fitness regime in the summer has been on point, and you can dodge the injuries this time around. And it's been so lovely to chat Hull with you. What's the plan for the Hull and Back podcast for next season then?
We've just launched our new website.
Oh, lovely! Oh, is that up now? Oh, brilliant!
Finally, so
I'm so excited for you.
It took a while getting over the line, but we've launched that now. We've got a good team of writers, so we're going to provide. Alongside the podcast, we're going to have written stuff now. So we're going to have, opinion pieces on players, transfer rumours, covering, young players in the under 23s. We kind of just want to become the place you would go if you want, anything Hull City related. So, hopefully we're on our way to that. It's the same team as last season. We've got obviously me, Nathaniel, Tom, and Will, Joel in some way, shape or form if he decides to make some spare time to come on the podcast this season. So, yeah, no, we're steady Eddie. Make some improvements to. I feel like I'm getting better at making my graphics and that, so we look a bit better. But yeah, exciting. It'd be nice to have something to actually talk about because we've had a very quiet summer. So hopefully after today's friendly, we could do an episode next week. So we'll have 2 friendlies to talk about and a new signing. So it's been tough to actually plan to do an episode because we've literally got nothing to talk about. But yeah, hopefully we're still the home of Hull City next season for everybody.
Absolutely, stuff. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Listen, everyone, I'd implore everyone to go check out the Hull and Back podcast and the Hull and Back website. What's the .com for it?
It's www.thabp.co.uk. So it's to Hull and Back podcast, the starting letters.
www.thabp.com.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We'll go check that out. Go check out the podcast. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Could be exciting times ahead on Humberside. This has been EFL Debate, the Hull City Summer Deep Dive with Ant Northgraves from the Hull and Back podcast. And we'll see you again very soon.
Cheers, Gab.